Huh?
Was it all
Like,
dry?
can't drink.
Okay, so it's all you then.
Yeah, it is just me. But I'm recruiting board members right now, trying to get help. Well, my sister completed 2.5 years ago. So my middle sister, which I believe you met, she used to come with me to like all the concerts and whatever. So we used to always come all the time. But she completed in February of 2017. She was in a place that she had MS. She was diagnosed with MS. She had she had attempted like 6 other times. But it had been a span of like 5.5-ish years. So once she finally did complete, it wasn't anything that our family
was surprised about.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't surprised, but we also were a little bit surprised because we thought at that point she like actually wanted to be a part of this life and everything was getting better. Looking in retrospect now, I see her unraveling.
Right. Yeah.
So,
hindsight's 20/20.
Right. And I do the hoodoo voodoo we do, so that's what I call them.
Okay.
I shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Right.
But there was no way. She was already pushing me away at that point, and
the more you smother, the more you get pushed away.
Yeah, well, and I think she was leading up to this point, and the people she was the closest with, she was pushing them away. Me being so busy having a new baby, I didn't really notice it, but I felt that she was so in love with my son that it was a change of perspective. Her boyfriend at the time didn't know about her mental health issues, and there was a gun, and she shouldn't have access to any weapons of any sort. So she completed, and I just knew I couldn't sit around and do nothing. So I had already worked with a nonprofit for 10 years.
Which was?
The Bree Project.
The Bree Project?
Yeah.
And that was for?
So it's adolescent, teen risky behavior, suicide, and the choking game.
So for about 4 or 5 years, trying to complete.
Well, so like she had attempted several times, but again, like you were saying, the brain is not developed till you're 25. So, but it was very real. I mean, now she has been diagnosed with a personality disorder. They diagnosed her with ADHD.
Okay. Did they give her medication for that?
They did.
Oh.
Yeah. So she was on Ritalin for quite some time and going through these different stages. And as you're developing, now they understand that it's a lot more like a personality disorder, which I truly believe that my sister had. So it is a genetic thing. But I mean, as far as my sister goes, she was in a really bad place. She was hurting. She was in a lot of pain with the MS.
Yeah.
She, like, just mentally, you can see now that she wasn't in the best place, and she had the means to complete.
Right. How long does MS take? Like, what was
my sister was also a hypochondriac.
Okay.
So I never truly saw the diagnoses, and I never. I feel like an asshole, but I felt like
she was
bullshitting. But I know that she was in pain. She finally got on a concoction medication that was working for her after multiple trials of different things. And that's where our family, that 5-year stint, like, she was fine. I finally got my sister back. Like, that's how I felt. Like, that's how I truly felt, because she went through this, like, crazy phase that I couldn't even be around her. And then we went to this doctor that finally got her medication right. She finally wanted to be alive. She finally was back to who I believed or knew my sister was. And then she was gone. So it's like, well, she pulled herself away, but she was still there, but not the same. And then, of course, she completed after that. So it was like, for me, it was like, I used all these words, and I used, it really was a barrier that I was putting up in between her and I, because I didn't understand. And now, everything that I've learned ever since then, I wish I had these skills now, but I didn't, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the biggest thing was I didn't understand what she was going through, nor did I try to understand what she was going through. I just assumed a lot of things, and a lot of that wasn't her fault. She got to a place that it just was too much for her, and I after she completed, it was really hard, but I just couldn't not do anything. And being in the world of a nonprofit anyways. My sister was a CPR instructor. She was a caregiver for a paraplegic. She was surrounded by a world full of people. However, she's always very much felt very, very alone in everything, and we didn't make it any easier with our family. She got in a huge fight with my oldest sister right before, like a couple months before, but that's her pushing everybody away. So I think that made us hold back, I guess, from like what she was going through.
You guys didn't really want to go down that road, almost in fear that like it might take you and put you in a darker place.
Right.
Because we all kind of deal with our own demons, and you pushed over the line, and it's like, you know, will I come back this time, you know?
Yeah. So this life was very, I guess, sheltered for me, but my sister because when you have an alcoholic parent, you're already inherently, potentially going to be an alcoholic.
Now, since you had the addiction, was she addicted?
She got
hammered?
Drunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And to the point that we had to take care of her, like whenever, and I couldn't be around her when I was drunk. She was drunk or I was drunk because I wanted to beat her up. No patience at all.
I get it. So it's just the alcohol then. So she followed in Dad's footsteps with just alcohol.
The best way I can explain her is a very free soul. She would have taken care of you in a heartbeat. Like she was that caregiver. She gave her soul to everybody. And then in return, she never got it back. So I guess moving forward, all you can do is live and learn and not make those mistakes.
And doing what you're doing, I mean, you're actively trying to make a change. So nonprofits, what's the name of it?
BCC Evolution.
BCC Evolution. And what color are the ribbons?
So for suicide prevention, the ribbon, it's teal and purple.
So BCC literally stands for blank carbon copy.
Well, for Brianna, Chris, and Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. The evolution is because we're ever evolving. So.
I'm really sorry that you went through that. You know, like you said, mental health. You're right. It's like invisible layer that hangs over people, and you tell yourself you're fine. You tell yourself you're fine. You tell yourself you're fine until you're literally hanging off the edge of the bridge, and you're like, "Fuck, how did I get here?" You know, it's a tough road back.
I mean, I have plenty of friends right now that are going through that with their kids. They're putting them on the 72-hour suicide watch, and they're having them, which is great that the schools are finally asking questions and finally taking them to places that they can help them. When you get the doctor that will actually pay attention, listen to you, and understand what you're going through, they can work.
Right.
However, the ones that they just throw whatever at them and you don't advocate for yourself or your child, that's where we have the problems, and that's where we lose people. And the period, also, the biggest problem is that we don't have enough resources.
No.
Yeah, so what Mental Health First Aid does is we become that space, the space between diagnosis and when they actually can get help. Because on average, a person has to wait 2 to 5 weeks to get into a mental health facility. If you need to go see a neurologist, you're gonna wait like 6 months. So that space is where we lose the most people, and that's a space that I've had so many friends like lose their children because they're diagnosed, and then 2 weeks later they're dead because they couldn't wait. Like my biggest enlightenment, I went to a weekend to do mental health first aid classes. So basically it teaches you the skills how to help or assist people that are in need. This helped me to like take that moment and release my fear and release the feelings and everything that was holding me there, and finally forgive myself and forgive her, because it wasn't her fault.
No.
Yes, she did it to herself.
She didn't do it to you.
Right,
you know,
right. That's why you don't say, so like, I'm sure you heard me, but I say completed.
Yeah.
Because they're completing the action of suicide.
Where did you start and where did you wind up?
Well, working for a large corporation helped.
Okay, yeah, right.
I mean, they have resources within there that it's calm psych. They actually set you up and give you a list of psychologists in your area.
You don't have to have a referral from doctor?
No.
Okay.
I took a leave of absence, which my company also paid for, because it was something that I just not functioning. I mean, it helped to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
just talking about it, and
Yeah.
or just her allowing me to cry, or whatever happened in that moment. It literally changed my life. It literally changed my whole being. One, because I was surrounded by people that were already working on themselves, people that were very much like-minded, maybe in a bad place, but wanted to find a way out. And it was the first thing that ever released me from the fear of losing somebody else, the fear of not being there, and just all these fears that I had stored up for that whole time. I mean, it even spans over my lifetime. But taking all of those fears that were literally holding me back and causing me to be in bad places at certain times. And I broke through a lot of those. I'm either going to change or I'm going to explode. I use CBD versus traditional.
CBD's fucking amazing.
Yes.
It's still running. Do you have your video camera on? How much more time do you have?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause this real quick. You know,
I mean, there's so, well, school shootings in general, there's so many signs, and the whole thing is that nobody knows how to identify them, and you can't have a psychology major or minor to understand.
No.
I mean, like you were talking about, because I have a psychology minor, and I went through like a whole bunch of classes, like we did abnormal psychology, and you talked about like the state, not penitentiary, the state hospital. We had a woman that actually came into our class, and she ended up going into postpartum psychosis, and she killed both of her children.
Right.
And I feel like I see people's brains working. Like it's kind of weird. I see like them processing things.
Yeah, I mean, you've learned skills in those classes, you know, and like, that's fair enough to say that you have an understanding of what they're going.
She was doing that, like it was processing in her brain, and now she goes out and talks to people about psychosis, because psychosis is very, very real.
Absolutely.
Postpartum psychosis is very, very real, and she spent like 10 years at the state hospital, versus going to prison, because it was a state that she could not control. The thing about it is that you have to understand the mental health first before you just so there's a woman in our class today that actually is going through the system right now, and she has some false accusations going against her while she is learning the mental health skills and understanding, or getting a better understanding, so that she can go to this court case and have something to defend with, that it's not just her. It's a mental state that happened at that moment, and it doesn't define you.
She can separate her life from the one moment.
Right.
And say, I am not that one moment.
Yes, yes. So there's a lot of skills, a lot of different things that we talk about. And in the adult version, we do go into psychosis. In the youth version, we really teach compassion and empathy. But I personally, like we were talking, I wish I had these skills that I have today prior. But I don't. Now I just have to learn how to move forward. And my ultimate goal is to help everybody and anybody that I possibly can, whether it's that one person that wants to hear or needs to hear that it's going to be okay. Like you said, being in a house by yourself doesn't do you any good.
No.
And our bodies, and Sierra actually said this today, is that as humans, we want...
you want
people. And one interaction can change somebody's life. One adult in a child's life can change their whole entire being. Like your dad is probably your one person, right?
Oh, of course.
So I know, like Sierra, her teacher was her one person. For me, I don't have a clearly defined one person, but one person and one connection and one reach out can change a whole person's being. And that is my goal, is that people understand that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we've been doing is we do volunteer program. So
How often?
So we have the Love Wins volunteer program, and so last year we did backpacks for kiddos.
Okay.
Or this year, not
Cool.
last year. Backpacks for kiddos. We delivered 78 backpacks.
Mm-hmm.
We also did capes for superheroes, which we delivered them to the
That's
VA
cool.
hospital. It was so cool. Like
That's cool.
these heroes, like legit
War veterans. That's
real
awesome.
heroes.
That's awesome.
We gave them these little capes, and their eyes just light up,
Right.
knowing that somebody appreciates them.
And these kids have problems like that are
What?
going and doing this with you guys?
Well, so we just have volunteer people,
Okay.
anybody, but our team consists of like people that have PTSD, that have been through trauma, anybody that wants to help volunteer, really goes with us. But my program director, she has like PTSD, she's been through trauma, she has a lot going on, but she has developed this program which we kind of took over with BCC, or incorporated,
Right.
so that we can spread the message even further. But we also did homeless care packages for the vets in Colorado Springs, and looking into next year, we'll do Children's Hospital,
Okay.
capes at Children's Hospital,
Cool.
and then we're going to focus our homeless care packages on families.
Mm-hmm.
We do an annual film festival, which
Cool.
this year was our first annual film festival.
Where at?
Amazing.
Where at?
It was at the Bug Theater,
Okay.
downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And everything came into alignment. Like at first I was like,
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing. Like
Cause
music
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
always been my thing,
Uh-huh.
but I have a friend that's already doing that. And then I had a friend, she's like, you should do a film festival. I was like, I don't know
That's
what
yeah.
that means. So the film festival went off without a hitch.
beautiful.
Didn't get as many people as
So
we
local
wanted,
directors, local
Yeah.
writers, local
Yeah.
everything, showing local films. So
Yeah.
giving love to the local community.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we had. So we had 4 keynote speakers and 4 local independent films, short films. Yes, so all very local to Colorado.
So I'm not trying to sound cold or anything, but it's like you found your life's calling because of a very, very tragic incident. Now, I find that glorious. My favorite quote, and it's tattooed across my neck, is you can stand in awe or you can be inspired. Now, tweaking it a little bit, meaning to me is like, you can stand in awe, basically take a moment that made you feel a certain way. In this sense, not good, but it made you feel bad, right? And you're trying to, you can either stand in awe, like, and just be back and say, I'm gonna take that badness and I'm gonna hold it in, and I'm gonna let it defeat me, right? Or you could be inspired to go outside of that and do everything you possibly can to make other people not ever feel the pain that you had at that moment, right?
Yeah.
So it could go in both directions. So I take music because somebody inspired me when I was watching them on stage, and I could have just took that in and just lived my life forever, but I took that inspiration and I want to pass that light, I want to pass that torch, and I want to inspire somebody else to do something, to keep things going, and, not doing music for so long, and I really felt like I wasn't touching people in a way that I was, before. So this is really important to me to, get a bunch of different people out, and, we all are afraid of something, and we all have our things, and not everybody gets a calling as hardcore as yours, or aggressive, I guess. You just kind of took up arms. It was almost like, your backyard was invaded and you said, fuck no, I'm not gonna allow any more shots to come over the fence. And I mean, that's commendable, I mean, I love the shit out of that, and the fact that you go and, online and, you put yourself out there and you're not afraid to do that, and you don't give a shit what anybody says. I mean, I wish I had that much, the balls, because one of the big things about coming back was I was so afraid of what people would think, and I had to really get this out of my head that, like, fuck them. I'm not doing it for them. Like, I'm not trying to, I'll never be, so it's like, this is for me now, once I've kind of learned to love myself, now I can allow other people, in to love me. And all those things that you guys do with the BCC, you're gonna have to get me all the links, and I'll put it down in the description of the video.
For sure.
So that way, people can, directors can participate, and people that are going through any hard times or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you hope, going through all this pain and learning all these things, taking your all your free time, and what is your hope to come out of,
So, I mean, it took me a long time to get to this place. Like, I mean, you knew a very different version of me back in the day.
Yeah.
This version of me is 100% different than what I used to be. I've developed the skills, the understanding. I did have I'm sick of being stuck. I'm sick of being fearful. It's time to allow the greatness to happen, and things actually have been coming to me versus me looking for them. And I think my biggest thing is inspiration, just impact. Like, what impact can we make on this world? How can we change how mental health is looked at? Suicide is the action of a mental health disorder or illness. It's not something that just happens. Yes, there are situations, but there's always something that leads to it. Allowing or teaching people how to identify those signs and then understand the symptoms, and we have to differentiate them. My goal is to, wherever I can, make an impact, and I have opened my heart, and as long as it aligns with my vision and my goals and where I want to be, there's limitless possibilities in this world. I do work on myself on a daily basis. It's self-love, it's self-compassion, it is understanding yourself before you can ever help anybody else.
Yeah.
But how do you get to that place? And I really truly believe that through volunteering, it is something that helps boost endorphins. So that's why we added on the volunteer. Next year, I want to look into trauma, because trauma is one of the biggest things that I feel like is not looked at. But my ultimate goal
head
is
injuries, things like that will lead
yeah,
to
I mean,
down
like
line?
concussions, how like
CT?
substance abuse,
Absolutely.
violence, abuse, physically, mentally, emotionally, how that creates and causes this trauma of people, and how you can break through and forward. Again, I was telling you, I've met some amazingly incredible people this year that have given their time to me to create this space for change. So I just have there's so many things I want to do, but I want it to be in alignment with where I'm going and what I truly believe. And the focus right now, not right now, but the focus is mental health. And not allowing another family to go through what our family had to, because it happened not far after my sister. And I see that family, we're all very close, and I don't want another family to have to go through it. But you also have to understand how and why, and people don't want to die. They really truly don't want to die. And you have to have the balls to freaking ask the right questions. And the one most important question is, are you going to kill yourself?
Right.
We teach that, we train it, we practice it in
tough
our
one, right?
classes.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it's like probably the hardest question to ask anybody, because what are you going to do with the answer? Like, you could probably ask it all day, but what are you going to do with the answer? And if you truly ask that question to somebody that is suicidal, they will give you an answer. If you ask them twice, they will probably tell you what's going on, because they don't truly want to die. There are some people that do, and if somebody does happen to complete, it is not your fault. That's the other understanding that people need to know, is that it's not your fault. So if I can make an impact on one person, if I can do whatever I can in this world of not understanding to make people understand, is my goal. So
so shedding light, and what would you tell that person that's watching right now, hopefully, or maybe not watching, but is feeling that feeling right now, loneliness, and that they're not going to be able to come out of it, and they got a fucked up situation, and you can't honestly tell them things are going to be all right, because things possibly won't get all right.
Yeah.
So what do you tell that person?
It's okay to not be okay. Like, that's the biggest thing that you have to understand. Like, It is absolutely okay to feel like shit. It is absolutely okay to feel alone. It's not abnormal. You're not abnormal. Yeah. And we need to get that out of our verbiage that people are abnormal when they feel away.
People get chastised, right? For being different and having feelings, and I just don't understand that. So
and stop saying get over it. Stop saying suck it up, or be a man, or don't be a crybaby, or don't be a girl. Like women are pretty freaking strong. So.
I've seen that rear its ugly head way too many times. The talk like that has turned. I've seen bad things come out of talk like that.
Yeah.
So what I could say is you are a completely different person. You hold your shoulders much more confidently than when I first met you. I'm not saying that you were timid when I first met you, but you have so much courage and strength right now, and and I know it's hard for you to keep from breaking down, but like when I see you like tearing up and stuff, I don't see that as a weakness. I just see that as all you've taken in because of this is we all break at certain points, but you are strong. You break through that, and like you're you don't know these people at all, and same thing with me. I don't know these people either, but I just know that we all have problems. Maybe not the same fucking problems, but instead of labeling somebody a junkie or a fucking emo and like this and that, putting all these labels on people, try to understand that person, because fuck, they may be going through the same shit you did, and you may have a story or something that was gonna stick with somebody for the rest of their lives, and that could keep them from fucking doing something stupid.
Well, and I know, that brings up a good point, is that you want person first language. You are a person before a disorder or a disability. I am not AIDS, or I am not cancer, I am not MS. I may have that certain thing, but that doesn't define who you are. Like telling your kid that they're dumb, telling them that they're never going to pass a test, telling them anything.
And even if they are told that.
Well, and even if they are told that, like, that doesn't define you. Right. It will never define you. And your disorder or your disability or your whatever you're going through does not define you. You are a person first, and we all need to start using person first language, because we're already pre-labeling people and kids that take this in, and it's not okay. And we really need to like change the environment of where we're at, because there are a lot of people in this world, and there are a lot of people that take these labels and that defines them, but it shouldn't.
Right.
So.
Well, and social media, to me, it's got its good parts, and like I'm absolutely terrified of social media right now. I think there's a reason for it. So I think people could live in moments, and they define themselves as that moment in time, instead of saying I have my whole life before me, and now I have this whole life in front of me that I can always change. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can always blossom into something. Yeah, recreate yourself. And I think everybody, not just kids, everybody needs to learn that you are not what you did today. You are not what happened last week. And nothing is that fucking bad.
Yeah.
Nothing is that bad.
Yeah. There's always there are little glimpses into moments, and suicide is a solution to a temporary problem.
Right. Long-term solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, is that kids, especially nowadays, don't understand the finality of it. So having the conversation with your children, I don't care what age they are, we need to start having conversations with our kids now versus later. And maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they're 5 and they don't understand it. I talk to my son about it. I talk to my stepdaughter about it. They may not understand, but getting them to
give them the benefit of the doubt to actually process themselves.
Yeah. And kids want understanding, and they want somebody to listen. So do adults. Like, adults are the same way. That by human nature, we crave attention, we crave people, we crave togetherness, and one interaction can completely change and kids don't have to be the definition of what their parent believes them to be.
No.
And you have to be willing to have that conversation. And the conversations can be taught. You don't have to understand how it works or what you have to say. And sometimes silence is the best thing that you can do.
Right.
So I mean, my ultimate goal is just to have everybody understand each other, have everyone, I mean, really just get to know each other. Like you were saying, like they may be going through like just because they have road rage or whatever at that very moment. Maybe they're rushing off to their kid.
Maybe his clothes are dirty.
Right.
But they're, you know, at one point, you know, maybe they weren't dirty, you know, and you could hold the key to, you know, something really, really positive. And, you know, I always look at it like the winning lottery ticket, you know, the person that could get us out of some of this fucked up shit that we're doing to ourselves, you know, here on this planet. Because a lot of those people are brilliant, you know, people are brilliant, and they're written off as you know, as bombs. And,
labeled.
Yeah, they're labeled, and so, you know, I think we're missing out on a lot of potential. So
yeah. I mean, you would be highly amazed just even with our homeless care package, like the things that open my eyes. People are people. No matter what situation that they're in or whatever situation they may have fallen into at that point, they are still people, they are still humans, and they still have things that they need. And until you've been in that place, you cannot judge.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
And to see how gung-ho you are for it, but not only that, but you're taking in all of this knowledge. I really hope you continue because you're inspiring me. That's why it was important to do this project, and with, you know, a friend and somebody I know, and again, I'm sorry that it had to take something so tragic in order for you to find this calling, but I love what you're doing, and I want to support it.
I appreciate you taking your time to also find out what I'm doing.
And then is there a number right off the top of your head?
bccevolution.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and donations is really where we live. We can only accomplish so many things without money. My goal is to eventually get to a place that this is the only thing I'm doing.
Okay.
Because I think that the impact that I've made in just over a year is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. And if I can grow this even bigger, just the impact on this world is going to be huge. So I appreciate everybody and anybody that is willing to listen and wanting to be a part of it. And if you can't donate money, you can donate your time.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that that would help, you know, you could move on to something else.
That would be amazing. That would be phenomenal. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure.
Cool. Thanks, Josh.
No problem, man.
Peace out, yo.